Back in 2007, the original BioShock went down a storm with reviewers and scooped up a ton of awards. But there's no such thing as the perfect game, and there were a few areas that did draw criticism. The Vita chambers that revived you with half your health when you'd been killed were slated for not offering enough of a penalty. Enemies that you damaged stayed that way, so you could just keep getting killed and wearing them down.
Who is it? How dare you touch me?
No!
Some thought that the moral dilemmas you faced were a bit too black and white. Saving the little sisters was clearly the decent thing to do, whereas harvesting them for their valuable Adam seemed awfully harsh. Fighting your way through Rapture's atmospheric underwater dystopia made for a top-quality single-player experience. But these days, successful shooters that lack multiplayer are as rare as Rocking Horse Doo-Doo. Now that BioShock 2 surfaced, we can finally see if it lives up to the hype, or indeed if this hugely anticipated sequel will actually leave any room for criticism. Once again, on the single-player side of things, there's an immersive deep-sea voyage to undertake. The campaign mode's development has been a collaborative effort by a trio of 2K Games studios. It aims to offer a more intense gameplay experience without sacrificing any of that rich BioShock atmosphere. Digital Extremes, co-creators of the Unreal franchise, have also given BioShock 2 the multiplayer that the original lacked. So that's definitely one thing we can cross off the wish list. BioShock 2 takes us back down into Rapture, roughly a decade on from where the original left us.
Let's go out to play, Daddy.
This time you play as Subject Delta, one of the earliest prototype Big Daddies, those diving-suited hulks that guarded the little sisters and were so hard to kill in the first game. Having been out of action for 10 years, he comes around not knowing what's happened to Rapture, but is troubled by visions of Eleanor, the little sister he'd sworn to protect. It seems that she's in danger.
Father!
Delta gets some guidance from Dr. Tenenbaum, who's still looking after the little sister's welfare.
You must go there and save her before it is too late.
But the sinister psychologist, Sophia Lamb, is now in charge of Rapture, and she'll stop at nothing to destroy him.
Behind that mask hides an enemy of the people, without soul or sympathy.
Just like the original, the storytelling here is expertly handled. Bit by bit, through conversations and found recordings, you'll gradually piece together an intricate plot that reveals Delta's true origins. And as it was the first time around, Rapture is a completely absorbing place to explore. The atmosphere created gives you a clear feeling of being in a once utopian city, which eventually became an undersea hell for its inhabitants.
Can I come out to play again, Mr. B?
In terms of the campaign's gameplay, BioShock 2 offers a broad range of improvements. Because you're playing as a Big Daddy now, your enemies have become harder too. There are new splicers to deal with, like the raging steroid-pumped brutes. Messing with little sisters means you'll have to deal with their big sisters. When one of these hunts you down, prepare for a tough fight. Plasmids and weapons can now be wielded simultaneously, so there's no more inconvenient switching between the two in the heat of battle. Hacking machines quickly became a chore in the original game, so this time it's done without pausing the action, using a simple test of your reflexes. Also, the hack darts you use now make it possible to interfere with Rapture's machines from a distance. There are lots of new plasmids to inject, like the cyclone trap here. What's more, they can be leveled up to have increasingly powerful effects. For example, an improved electro bolt chains its lightning between enemies, and a powered-up winter blast traps your victims in blocks of ice. There's more to Delta's dealings with the Little Sisters. Before, it was just a case of killing their guardian, Big Daddy, then deciding whether to save or harvest them for their precious Adam. Now, you're a daddy too. You still have to deal with their bodyguards, but once that's done, you have the option to adopt. Adopting, or angelining, a little sister around on your shoulders, you can help her in the Adam gathering process. When you find some, it pays to prepare the area with traps, because as soon as she starts extracting the valuable goo, a crowd of splicers will come running, desperate to get in on the action.
It's funny because before, once we were announced, but we hadn't really revealed any of the details, people were like, it's gonna be a sequel. No, it's gonna be a prequel. Well, it's actually both.
Tough game,
Yes, made by a different developer, set in a different time frame. This is 1 year before BioShock 1, and sporting a new cast of characters, BioShock 2's multiplayer could almost be classed as a separate game. You choose to play as one of 6 different Rapture inhabitants as civil war engulfs and destroys the city.
We've got Barbara Johnson, who's a housewife. She wasn't invited to Rapture, her husband was. And now she's stuck under the sea and people are throwing fireballs from their hands. So, she's just trying to survive. We also have Suresh, who is this performer who was working in Fort Frolic with Sandra Cohen. Jacob Norris, who is just kind of a welder who was brought in to help build the city.
And all have been tricked by an unscrupulous company to take part in a scheme that probably won't be very good for their health.
And so this company, Playr Solutions, is advertising a home consumer products rewards program.
Congratulations, Mr. or Mrs. Citizen Rapture. You've been approved to join the Playr Solutions team as a product tester in our home consumer rewards program.
What that means is they're essentially using you as human guinea pigs. They're giving you plasmids that haven't come to the market yet and are basically trying to make sure that they don't have adverse effects, but they're not telling you that. They're just like, oh, here's your starter kit, and if you use it more and get more Adam, you'll go up to the 2nd rank, and you'll get to the Silver Society. It's this great pyramid scheme.
Yes, we thought you'd like the sound of that.
But of course, the test plasmids have sent them crazy, loopy, aggressive, angry.
The guy is a killer, folks. A killer.
These characters, they were just normal citizens. It's basically their journey of becoming splicers.
Okay, the modes. Survival of the fittest, a free-for-all mode, most kills wins. Team Civil War, the same, but 2 teams compete. Last Splicer standing, the same, but no respawn. Adam grab. Find and keep hold of the little sister for as long as possible. Team Adam grab. Guess what? And there's a territory mode called Turf War, but our favorite is Capture the Little Sister.
It's essentially capture the flag, but it's set within the Rapture fiction, and you're trying to secure the most precious resource, which is the little sister and her Adam. So you've got one team that's defending her and trying to keep her, who's also got a Big Daddy on their side, and then you're on the other team trying to capture her and the Adam. And it's this really great, intense mode. It's very different because when you pick up the little sister, she's actually moving, and you've got her right in that first-person view, and you're holding her, and she's yelling at you and trying to push you away, and she's actually locked up your weapon hand, and so the only thing that you can do is to throw plasmids if somebody's attacking you, or to coordinate with your teammate.
Big Daddies play a part in the other modes too. A randomly spawning suit can be grabbed by any player that finds it, but beware, it makes you strong and powerful, but you lose your plasmids. But the thing which makes BioShock 2's multiplayer so exciting is the ability to combine to pull off combos.
For instance, I'll see somebody use Winter Blast and they'll freeze the opponent right then and there, and then someone else will come with the Aerodash Plasmid and then just like whoosh through them and smash them to bits. You can do that in single player, but you're doing it by yourself, and so having that opportunity to have those moments come together through different people is just really cool.
There's no denying it, BioShock 2 is up there with the likes of Half-Life. Very few first-person games can boast such a masterfully told story, set in a world as absorbing as this. 2K Games have fixed the small problems that tarnished the original and added further layers of exciting gameplay and fresh ideas to the mix. The only real problem is that because it has stayed very faithful in style to the first game, it doesn't quite have the same impact of groundbreaking originality that we were struck with on our first visit to Rapture.
Look, Daddy, it's you.
Still, this is essential gaming. When we look back in retrospect at the end of the year, there's no doubt it'll be considered as one of the best that 2010 had to offer. We'll give it 9 out of 10.